Dr. Malia Jensen, and this is Tucker. Tucker is helping me co-host from heaven. So, um, if you are new here, welcome. I appreciate you being here. We are here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. If you found me for the very first time, maybe this week, in regards to discussing soft plaque or hard plaque, calcium scoring tests, or CT angiograms, you're in the right place. Today, um, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit more on why the calcium score of 0 can be a bit of a dangerous false sense of security. And I don't want that to happen, okay? We're also going to talk about the vasculature that surrounds an actual artery. Large arteries have their own vasculature, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about an injury that occurs on the outside in instead of the inside out. That is occurring as well, and we can get into that. But I also want to mention the vasovasorum as far as a blood supply for large arteries themselves. I also want to touch on a little bit today about the glycocalyx. The glycocalyx is a layer immediately inside the artery. This glycocalyx is, it's analogous to the slippery coating on the outside of a fish. It's a jelly-like slippery coating, and that allows the blood and the red blood cells and white blood, it allows things to flow through the artery uninhibited, okay? I think one other thing we should talk about is LDL, the components of LDL, why we have LDL. And so with that, we'll start from the beginning, and I want you to ask questions if you have a question intermittently, okay? Quicksilver, I do not do requests for live videos, so um, nonetheless, that is something I don't do, okay? But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Good morning, Lucy. And good morning, Vanessa. Thank you for being here. So again, if you have questions in between where I am talking and you have a question in that regard, just go for it. I'll try to answer them as they come in. If you are on YouTube, you have an opportunity to do super chats, to do super stickers, and those are much appreciated, okay? They help support the channel. On Instagram, I believe it is called badges or even a subscription for the month. And I think it's $2 a month. So those help the channel keep going, and so I can do what I do, okay? Lucy asks, why would someone get varicose veins, thick ones, if the person isn't overweight and do cardiovascular exercises? Okay, one more, help me out. Why does someone get varicose veins? A lot of people would tell you that they're hereditary. Whenever there is pressure down below, so if you're standing long periods of time, if you have peripheral edema, means swelling or water retention in your lower extremities, they can increase the pressure of the venous structure of your lower extremities. The simple act of aging can age the veins. Pregnancy can make them worse because of the pressure on the pelvis from the baby and the pelvic area. So your iliac area, so in the crease of where your hips are, so to speak, that gets a lot of pressure from the baby. So it doesn't surprise me that women would get below the waist varicosities. I mean, as we age, and for females, hormone changes also can play a role. Let's see, looks like Instagram is, and I have reset this. I have worked to reset Instagram many times. It does not want to stay. It does not want to stay online. I will try to do it again, but We might have to give up on Instagram. That only lasted 6 minutes, you guys, on Instagram. So I'm not sure why the platform of Instagram does not want me to stay on, but if you guys are on Instagram right now, I am live on YouTube. Please join over there at Iron Lady Doc Malia Jensen. And maybe we just need to go in that direction because, yep, Diane, if you get blocked or thrown off, please join me over on YouTube. So you guys, please join me over on YouTube. That has apparently a better platform for live streams right now. Instagram is throwing everybody off, including myself. So, okay. Your friend has a varicose vein behind her knee. I'm guessing a her. I don't know. Maybe his knee. That is obviously from pressure, old veins. Iron overload can also be a cause. Iron overload. So getting Bronx, I don't think it's my internet connection. I had to restart the Instagram. If it was my internet connection, I would be off of YouTube, and I'm not. I don't have any troubles on the YouTube connection or getting thrown off. It is only Instagram where I keep getting thrown off. If you want to continue to hang out, if it ends, I will restart it if you want me to. But yeah, this has become a problem for the past, I would say, month now. Oh, it's a guy. He raises his leg and they go away. Is this something to worry? Likely not. He's probably got some broken veins or broken valves in that area. It's always a good idea to get a vascular surgeon to look at those veins. The doctor could maybe do a lower extremity venous duplex. That will help give some idea of the health of the veins in the backs of the legs or the lower extremities. It's called a venous duplex. You can also do arterial duplex, but this is definitely a venous one. I don't know if he crosses his legs a lot. If you cross your legs a lot, that can cause pressure on the back. If you're just sitting a lot, that just a bend in your leg can put pressure on that vein behind the knee. There's a lot of things that could be going on, Lucy. Hopefully hopefully that helps. And one of those things is what's going on. So standing up frequently, pumping the calves, maybe wearing compression socks during the day. I don't know what the person is doing on a regular basis, but you don't need much compression, maybe 10 millimeters of mercury. Lena says, I got large fatty feeling lumps behind my knees. What is it and how is it treated? Behind the knees, if it's a fatty lump, it could be a lipoma. If it could also be a Baker's cyst. You could have a Baker's cyst. It's really good, Lena, I think it's Lena. Yeah, Lena, if you get a ultrasound of that area, you'll be able to tell, is it a Baker's cyst or is it a lipoma? That would be in your best interest to see your doctor and get further testing. Yeah, you're welcome, Lucy. Okay. Anne is over here. Okay. Let's see. I don't see any questions. You're welcome, Lena. I don't see any questions here on Instagram. So let's, is it Kylan? Kylan, is that how you say that? Hi, Kylan. If if you guys want to get started, maybe let's see if we can start with maybe a 0 calcium score. This has been a common theme for the past 2 weeks, which is good because I love that you guys are asking questions and you're commenting on the reels. If you guys have not looked at any of my reels, you're new here, catch some of the reels just recently. I would say in the last month. Okay. I started out with a reel about why you might want to consider taking a statin. Okay. I followed that with why you might not want to take a statin. The results of those 2 reels was, eye-opening. I got a lot of negative pushback, and I got a lot of positive pushback, or maybe affirmation. The 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 negative feedback that I got was, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was brutal, and I don't necessarily want to, um, decline answering those, but I think that we can be nice when we do it. So I followed with another video, talking about ad hominem attacks and bullying, and that was, um, interesting comments as well. I also had a reel that talked about a calcium scoring test, um, and just recently, what to do beyond a calcium scoring test. Okay. Now, let's see. Hi, Oreo. Ah, well, I don't see a question. Somebody said I skipped over their question. There's no questions here, except for from James. James asked, what steps can I take to lower my blood pressure where I can get off losartan? Good question. James, in okay, how about this? Most high blood pressure is something called essential hypertension. Essential, you would think that it is necessary for us to have it, but that's not what that word means. Essential hypertension is idiopathic. For the most part, idiopathic means we don't know why you have high blood pressure. But I think you do know. And I think if you made some changes, your blood pressure would come down. And that's why you're asking the question. Now, blood pressure, idiopathic hypertension, I don't believe exists. I think there's always a cause. And the most common cause is high insulin. If James were to lower his insulin, I don't know what your insulin level is. It's always good for everybody to get their insulin levels checked and to know why that they have high insulin and what that level is. An insulin that is optimal is between 3 and 5. An insulin level between 3 and 5 is optimal. If your level is above that, the chances of you having high insulin causing water retention, causing high blood pressure is very high. So if you want to get off of your blood pressure medicine, if you are able, I would consider a low carb ketogenic diet. The minute your insulin comes down, you will drop water and salt for that matter. So make sure that you are consuming salt and your blood pressure will come down likely forever as long as you are on a low insulin diet. Okay. Let's see. Good morning, Lion. What what causes parasites? Well, parasites are living organisms, and living organisms need to eat. So likely you are feeding them, you consume them either through diet, breathing them in, other animals. That's how you get parasites, and then you keep them by feeding them. So if they're living rent free in your body by eating sugar and processed foods, or consuming high doses of iron that is trapped in your body, then you are a breeding ground for all kinds of pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungus. All of those consume iron, especially, as well as sugar. So carbohydrates. Okay. Summer Love, I did not see your question. So um, I apologize for that. If you want to redo your question, if you want me to see your questions more apparently, you can do a super chat and that would help as well. What kind of disease will get if uncontrolled? If what is uncontrolled? I'm sorry, I missed. Summer asks, I asked if I can help her keep her vision. She's 61 and I just want her to help her. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question, Summer. If you want to give me a little bit more information, I'm sorry I can't answer that. Blood pressure and pulse. Norman asks, oh, what's pulse pressure? Oh, okay. What is pulse pressure? Pulse pressure is the difference between the top number of your blood pressure. So if you have a blood pressure of 120 over 80, the pulse pressure is 120 minus 80, which will be 40. It's just the difference between the top number, blood pressure, and the bottom number. So we want that range to be somewhere around 40 or even a little less, as long as you can tolerate that and not get dizzy and feel lightheaded. The wider that pulse pressure gets, say 150 over 80, now you're looking at a pulse pressure of 70. And the higher that pulse pressure gets, it's usually indicative of hardening of your arteries. We call it lead pipe arteries. Okay, so your arteries, the musculature of the arteries is deteriorating. It's atrophying. We have muscle layers to the every artery. Okay, arterial capillary. We have a muscular layer. That's what keeps it contracting. Okay. And that pulse pressure over time, that widening pulse pressure could indicate, most commonly indicates, hardening of the arteries, stiffness. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have blockages, but it is a definite sign that your arteries are very stiff. Now, what happens with that? That blood can pool. If blood can pool, it can also clot. It is something that can be very, very dangerous. And a lot of times we will use blood pressure medications that actually work on the systolic aspect of your blood pressure, so the top number. Whereas some medicines, like a calcium channel blocker, like amlodipine, will work on the bottom number, the diastolic pressure. The systolic pressure is the contraction part of your, you know, the heart pumping, so to speak. And the bottom number is the diastolic, which is the filling pressure. So calcium channel blockers tend to work like amlodipine, or Norvasc is the other name for it. Norvasc works great for lowering the bottom number of your blood pressure. The original K, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you, Dr. J. You're very much appreciated. Here's my copay. God bless you. Thank you. You don't have to do this, but we very much appreciate your time. Wow, thank you. And I appreciate the copay. That means a lot. All right. Let's see. Okay, hopefully that, Norman, hopefully you understood and that answered your pulse pressure question. Let's see. If you guys have a question, I can see them better when you put a Q in front of them. It helps me to pick them out instead of just reading all of your comments. We are going to skip. If you guys have any type of derogatory comments, we are going to have Lucy, my moderator, take care of that. So, if you're trying to get some attention, it's not going to work on this platform. I do have moderators. You guys, everybody meet Lucy. Lucy is our moderator for today. Oh, okay, Summer. She's got your 61-year-old friend, I'm guessing, has macular degeneration. I asked how she can help with her vision to stop the decline. There's with macular degeneration, I believe there's a lot of glycation that's going on. Glycation is when sugars bind and gum up proteins. So we have proteins all over our body. Hemoglobin is a protein. And when we measure hemoglobin A1C, that is a measure of glycation. Okay, that is a measure of glycation of hemoglobin, sugar binding to hemoglobin, which is a protein. Now, in our eyes, we have proteins as well. When we have problems with high sugar, high insulin, we are getting inflammatory conditions. We are glycating the proteins in our eyes, and that can lead to cataracts and macular degeneration. So, diet plays a huge role. Okay. In our skin, we have collagen and elastin. When high sugar binds to collagen and elastin, we end up with wrinkles. So, lots of glycation going on in our body is simply from sugar binding to proteins. All right. Miss Miss Marn, I'm sorry. Miss, is there a connection between low estrogen and high cholesterol? There can be. There can be. I would definitely check your whole panel. You want to look at all of the markers, not just cholesterol or LDL. You want to look at all of the markers. So, estrogen is very protective while a female is younger, and then that's why heart attack risks increase as we age. But again, I would look at all of the markers: triglyceride, HDL, LDL. Okay. Summer asks, if she cuts her sugar, will it improve her condition? Um, Summer, does she have diabetes by any chance? But yes, if it's going to it, a low sugar everybody should be on a no sugar diet, but um yeah, I mean it's a possibility. I don't know how far gone she is. She's only 61. She's got a lot of life. It would be worth it to see. Okay. Now, if it's too far gone, it might not do anything. Lucy asked that we add a double Q, so put QQ in front of questions so I can see them, okay? Okay. 1910 says, my Nana's eye doctor said her prescription didn't need to be updated as often because she walks a couple miles a day, and that helped her eyes, the small capillaries, and increase blood flow. Absolutely. Isn't it amazing, 1910, how much exercise helps our entire body? It amazes me. Just the simple act of moving our body increases blood flow. Who would have thought? So the more we sit, the more problems we have. How about that? So thank you for sharing that 1910, and that might help Summer, help her 61-year-old friend. Uh, Anne asks, how or what is the best way to lower insulin? To lower insulin, you must lower blood sugar. Blood sugar goes up with the consumption of carbohydrates. So you want to make sure that your carbohydrates are low. Now, I don't know what your medical history is. Some of you need to go very slow, and some of you can stop eating carbohydrates tomorrow. That fasting will actually lower insulin, but it depends on what you're going to eat once you start eating again. If you're going to go back to a heavy carb diet, then your insulin is going to stay high. That is the best way to lower your insulin is a low carb, no carb, ketogenic diet. Okay. Um, Anonymous, if you want to ask a question, put a Q in front of it, and I would suggest that you have appropriate questions, and I'm not going to answer that question. So, all right. Well, I guess Lucy already took care of it. Okay. Thank you, Lucy. Let's see. Ruth says, my mom is 83 and does virtually zero exercise. Well, how's she doing? Is she doing fine? I mean, maybe she's doing fine. You're very welcome, Anne. Maybe are you going to get your 83-year-old mom to start exercising? She could maybe sit on the couch and move her feet with one of those little bicycle things. I don't know. Maybe maybe just for her getting up and exercising back and forth from the couch to the bathroom might be, you know, something that is exercise for her. Maybe you could get her a band, like a small yellow band that she could work. You'd be surprised. Ruth, if your mom's brain is going, have you tried music therapy with her? It is amazing. That, the just it's amazing how much it brings back their memory. They will associate it with a memory, and music is very good. Bible verses, if your mom is a Bible believing Christian, she will likely have extremely good memory when it comes to Bible verses. So just try those things. Okay. Um, M. Murray says, what are your thoughts on using antibiotics for rheumatoid arthritis? I have two friends who use minocycline. So that's a tetracycline, or it's a minocycline, tetracycline. Those are, I mean, I have never had a person on minocycline for rheumatoid arthritis. I might have had a patient on minocycline for acne. Those quinolones can be very, or not quinolone, the minocycline can be very damaging to the red blood cells. So I'm not sure if your friend is having their, CBC checked, checking their blood counts. I again, that's something I cannot speak to because I'm not familiar enough. Okay, so I do apologize. Good morning, Viviana. Yeah, something I won't be able to speak to. I don't know enough about it. Usually, the rheumatologist will start those medications, and it bypasses the PCP a lot. And if we don't get notes from the rheumatologist, the PCP is kind of in the dark in that regard. While we're waiting for questions to develop, I want to ask a question to you guys. How many of you, by show of hands, show of the wave, how many have you had a calcium scoring test? How many listening right now have had a calcium scoring test? And how do you feel about that calcium scoring test? Do you feel confident? Do you feel not confident because you've heard a lot of other things? What Where is your assurance level when you get a score back? If the score is 0, does that reassure you enough that you go on with your life and you feel good about it? So Dreezy says, um, they have a score of 0. How do you feel about that? Or is it Dr. Easy? I'm not sure. Because I believe that we sometimes can get a false sense of security. We can get a false sense of security with a score of 0. And what do I mean by that? Let's just see you eat a, by definition, from Dr. Jensen, a crapola diet full of sugars, seed oils, and processed foods. And you go and you get a calcium score and it's 0. I believe a lot of people feel that it gives them a license to continue doing what they're doing because they feel fortunate that they can eat whatever they want and have a score of 0. You have to look at that 0 as a past value. It takes sometimes years to calcify soft plaque in your body. So the calcium score is a measurement of past. Okay. If you were to continue doing what you're doing and then you don't recheck for 5 years, that's why they do that for 5 years, because calcium buildup takes long, could take several years. Okay. We don't know from a calcium score what or how much soft plaque you have in your arteries. A calcium score measures calcification. It measures calcified plaque. Okay. Now, does that plaque or that number indicate how plugged up your arteries are? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You could have a 100 calcium score and have no narrowing of your arteries. Zero. My caution with you is to not sit on it and say, I have a zero, I'm good, I don't need to do anything. I would definitely look at your other markers. I would get an insulin level. I would get an HSCRP. Just those two markers alone, if they are elevated, meaning a insulin level over 5 and a CRP over 1, that tells me that you have inflammation going on in your body. And if you have inflammation going on in your body, that tells me that you likely have some soft plaque building up. Now, I would get some further tests. I would get a triglyceride level and a HDL level. I might even get an interleukin 6 level, which is an inflammatory marker, or a TNF alpha. I might get a SED rate. I'm going to look at a lot of things. I might get an advanced lipid test. But if I'm worried that you might have soft plaque developing, we're going to have a little sit down, a little talk. Now, if you desperately want to know if you have soft plaque building up, you need to consider doing a CT angiogram and maybe even a clearly evaluation on that CT angiogram. So a CT angiogram is that just that, it's a CT. They put dye into your veins and then they look at the coronary arteries, the heart arteries, and they can see soft plaque on a CT angiogram. And then clearly is an AI software that evaluates your CT angiogram and is even more accurate. It's kind of like the the grand poopah. It's awesome. It tells a lot. So that's why some people who my last video was, how can somebody have a calcium score of 0 on Monday and a widowmaker heart attack on Tuesday? And that is why. It's because of soft plaque. So I do not want to have you have a false sense of security. Let's see. Yeah, Miss Marnin, Nicole. How about Nicole? Nicole is still concerned about soft plaque. Nicole, if you want, you can email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. Maybe we should schedule a consultation. Maybe we'll go over your numbers and go over some other things that you might feel a little more reassured, or we can set up a plan of action that you can talk to your doctor about. But just letting it go and you sitting being freaked out is not doing anything for your health. In fact, it's making your risk of heart attack even more by worrying about it. Okay. Okay. Are you celebrated esters? I don't know what your question is, Gazelle. Um, Chew the Fat says, I did and felt better about it, but I still pay attention to my animal-based diet. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Let's see. I don't know if it's Dreezy or Dr. Easy. How about we just say Easy? Easy63 says, doctor said I don't have to continue my statins for 3 to 5 years. I don't have to continue my statins for 3 to 5 years. Statins make my whole body feel horrible, and I've been on them for 20 plus years. I finally refused them. I've been where you're at, and so I understand your, what's going on. To the Fat says, I also did the heart stress test, the face mask with the oxygen. So you did a VO2 max. Okay. On the treadmill to run up to 10 minutes. I crushed that with great marks, yet haven't run in 5 years. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Lion says, I just I just purchased and put on the Lingo continuous glucose monitor to help me improve my metabolic health. Would you suggest I get my insulin tested when I complete this 1 month trial or sooner? I think you can get an insulin level anytime. You can get an insulin level any day of the year, any day. It doesn't matter. You don't have, I would do it fasting just to be consistent. When you check a fasting level and you check it at 10 o'clock, just be consistent every time you check an insulin level at 10 o'clock. Um, Anne says, I'm on Prolia every 6 months and my calcium was up last time. Thought this was related to my osteoporosis, but a bit confused. Yeah, I'm a bit confused by your question as well. I'm not sure what your question is. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back here. I missed some questions. They flew right by me here. My okay, Maurice. Wait. Is it okay? My husband has rheumatoid arthritis, RA, and we are trying to figure it all out. He also has Parkinson's. Murray, I'm sorry, I can't remember. Was your husband on statins? Statins are probably one of the biggest causes of Parkinson's, as are antipsychotic medications or antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications can lead to Parkinson's. But I have seen almost every single one of my Parkinson's patients was on a statin at some point in their life. If you have rheumatoid, remember that's an inflammatory condition, autoimmune. Again, that can be caused by statins or anything that increases inflammation. That's an inflammatory condition. I cook mostly low carb and he eats what I cook. Is there anything additional we can do to help him? I mean, there's a lot of things. There's studies right now going on with astaxanthin. Some people will say doing nicotine. I can't get on board with that, at least not right now. I have to be on board with if I would put that medicine or that particular chemical in my body. And if I won't, I'm not going to, you know, tell you to. And I'm surely not going to speak to anybody taking it because I don't know enough about it. Okay. But you say mostly low carb says that he's eating a lot of carbs. And you might need to get rid of that. You might want to try him on some MCT oil, but I would probably keep the carb and the sugar down because you're going to have competition with the oil and the carbs, the sugars. You can try exogenous ketones, especially BHB, that could help. Okay. Jack says, I was a smoker for 50 years, stopped 3 years ago. I would not want to have a CAC score. And that's fine. Don't get it. If you feel strongly about it, the more we get diagnostic tests, the more diagnoses you're going to have. You know that you've done some damage to your arteries of 50 years of smoking. However, you've been 3 years of reversing that damage. And in the next 3 years from then, you'll have even less damage. So you can heal the arteries. You can help them. You can exercise. You can lower your sugar, your blood sugar, your insulin. You can not drink alcohol. You can get out in the sun to help increase nitric oxide. There's a lot of things that you can do to help heal the arteries and allow the body's natural processes take over and dissolve any clots that might be there or any injuries. You got to allow them to heal. But if you continue to smoke and drink and eat sugar and have high insulin and breathe the air with with nanoplastics and might drink water from microplastic bottles and have iron overload, taking iron supplementation or multivitamins, then your risk will increase. Okay. Murray says, I went keto several years back, take HRT, and my LDL is pretty high, and all my doctors are stressed about it. Gosh, that's one thing I don't want to do is get stressed about your LDL. I did a CCS and I'm at 0. Oh, a calcium scoring test? Is that what you did, a CAC score? I'm at a 0, plus all other markers in the healthy range, told keto is fine. Okay. Murray, I wish I had more information like your triglyceride, your HDL, your insulin, your HSCRP. I would get a advanced lipid test on you. It's called an NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance. I would want to know what your small and large and intermediate sized particles look like, how much in number, what pattern you are, A or B. A is a larger buoyant LDL particle pattern, whereas a B is a more small, dense LDL particle pattern. So knowing those things would help. Jack says, do vapes cause inflammation? I believe they do. Chas says to Murray, how about a little omega-369 and red yeast and CoQ10 in the diet? Um, Chaz, we appreciate that you give Murray some information, but just so you know, maybe some of these things that you're recommending are not so good for Murray. In fact, omega-369 is an over-the-counter supplement of essential fatty acids, and Murray might have an overabundance of omega-6 to omega-3. We want an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 1. And if Murray already has an omega-6 level of 20, I don't think that you want to have Murray taking more sixes when he or she does not need that. Also, by the time you get to your store that you're going to purchase your omega fatty acids from, they are already oxidized and rancid by the time you take them off the shelf. So you're actually consuming already oxidized omegas. So a better thing to offer to Murray Chaz would be to eat the actual fish that has omega-3, or to consume grass-fed meat or pasture-raised eggs that give a great amount of omega-3s, okay? And they're not oxidized. Now, great that you want to help Murray, but that would not be the right thing to recommend. Moving along, you also recommend to Murray some red yeast rice. Well, maybe Murray does not want to take a statin, and statins have been known to block the mevalonate pathway. When you block the mevalonate pathway, you block the formation of not only cholesterol, but also CoQ10, and you block the formation of vitamin D and your sex hormones and vitamin K, just to name a few. You can go into the blocking of the isoprenoids as well, but we'll not get into that because it goes a little deep. But red yeast rice is basically a low dose statin called lovastatin. So it appears that Chaz, you're giving Murray some information to put them on a statin that is sold over the counter that is not regulated by any means. You don't know what you're getting. And then you suggest, which is a great thing, that you suggest that this person take some CoQ10. Knowing, Chaz, I'm guessing that you know that red yeast rice acts like a statin, blocks the mevalonate pathway, which blocks the production of CoQ10, which could cause muscle aches and pains and a little bit of dementia, right? So that part is okay until you ask, how old is Murray? And Murray is much over the age of 50. And by giving a CoQ10 product that, again, is not regulated, you're asking Murray to actually break down CoQ10 in the active form of ubiquinol. And as we age and we're over the age of 50, our ability to break down CoQ10 and make ubiquinol goes down. So, Chaz, if you want to have Murray do the right thing, ask their age and say, oh gosh, maybe you shouldn't do CoQ10. Maybe you should do ubiquinol. But then again, we would not take red yeast rice because that blocks the mevalonate pathway. So might as well let our own body make our own CoQ10, which can convert to ubiquinol. How about that? So, Chaz, thanks again. I appreciate that. Bad cholesterol might be a cause. A cause of what? Please help me about some tonic. I don't know anything about that. Okay. Okay. Talus. I'm not sure what your question is. I'm sorry. Yes, well, I believe that microplastics are real. Dallas says, "What is the worst?" Let me make sure I don't have anything over here. Let's see. Nope, it does not look like there's any questions on Instagram, so we'll keep moving here. What is the worst thing you've ever seen a patient do when taking advice from the internet and not the doctor? Um, gosh, that's a loaded question. I honestly, Dallas, I in my patient population, and you got to understand, it's much, much different. My practice compared to a corporate type practice where you're working for a hospital system. I was in private, I mean, solo private practice. My patients didn't necessarily go to the internet and do a whole bunch of wild stuff without really asking me or not discussing with me. It was not that they have to ask, they can do whatever they want. And they usually did, but I never had a patient that went off the deep end following advice from the internet. Dallas, I never had that problem, but I'm thinking it could be more prevalent in the larger hospital corporation, the clinics where they're seeing a ton of patients. I think honestly, who I think would probably get more of like wows, the wow factor, it would be pharmacists. When the pharmacists hear what patients have done over the counter, because a lot of times a a patient is not even going to tell their doctor, but they would tell their pharmacist everything. Okay, I bet they would give their social security number and their bank account to the pharmacist. Okay, people tend to trust their pharmacists a lot. And so they probably would have some stories for you, Dallas, but I don't have very many stories where I would say it was they were off the rocker or off my rocker. I never had that. So good question. I yeah. My patients would usually would ask, or they would say, "Hey, have you heard this?" Kind of like what you guys are doing right now. Have you heard about this? And then we would talk about it. I might not have heard about it, or I might have. Um, Whale says, I had trauma to my head while playing sports. One eye sight has become very weak. What shall I do? You should see your ophthalmologist. They specialize in your eyes. Snips says, hello. Oh, I got another one over here. Okay, I'll be right there. Snip says, hello. Would you recommend taking hormone for thyroid if my TSH is 12? I remove gluten and I am taking zinc, selenium, and D3. Hope to reduce TSH without any levothyroxine. Well, there's always other options besides levothyroxine, but SNPs, a TSH of 12 is really high. And I imagine that you're not feeling so good. I would imagine that you're just not feeling up to par. That would entail me looking deeper into your thyroid panel. I would get a TSH, a free T3, a free T4. I would get a TG, a TPO, and a reverse T3. And I would evaluate those. And I would also evaluate whether you have metabolic dysfunction. I would get a CRP, high sensitive CRP. I would get an insulin level. I might look at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. I'm going to look at a bunch of things, but you taking zinc willy nilly can be a problem because zinc can lower copper. And if copper is down, then copper will cause whatever iron you have in your body, well, not all of it, but it can drive iron into the liver where you don't want it. It is not a good thing to have iron trapping in organs and tissues. And if you have a low copper, that can do that. Zinc and copper are on opposite sides of the spectrum. When zinc is up, copper's down, copper's up, zinc is down. Okay. Selenium and D3, those are all great things for the thyroid. And I congratulate you, or I think that that's great that you're looking and reading more about the thyroid. But a 12, I would seriously want to get um, your other levels. You might have reverse T3 syndrome. I don't know, but yeah, that's something. And SNPs, I would want to know more about your gut. Do you have any type of irritable bowel? What does your iron panel look like? Your ferritin, your transferrin, your TIBC, your iron level. Yes, selenium deficiency can play a role in thyroid disorders. So can inflammation and stress and chronic illnesses and low calorie diets and insulin resistance and, like I said, metabolic syndrome, high cortisol. There's a lot going on. So, SNPs, it sounds like you would benefit from having a consultation. And you can email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. Let's see. Chew the Fat says, I went on a carnivore diet in 2020, lost 80 pounds. Wow, congratulations. Lost most health issues. So you reverse them. You didn't lose them. They can probably still be found. What you did is you reversed many of the health issues that you had going on. Then you slowly switched more to just an animal-based diet. I'm not sure what that entails. Still feel great and still have a cholesterol ratio issues, hereditary. Again, to the fat, hereditary, I'm not so convinced of that. And if you would like to, have a consultation, we'll go over all of your markers and we can talk about it. Okay. Uh, Triglyceride to HDL ranges from 0.9 to 1.1. Okay. What is your insulin level? What is your CRP level? Again, I would probably consider doing a consultation if you like. You don't have to. Um, Mermaster says the worst things for human health are table sugar and vegetable oils, or just sugar in general. And yeah, and vegetable oils are. How about all oils in general? You use which oil for cooking? I use butter or tallow. I've used lard. I like the taste of lard. I've also used ghee. I like ghee, not as much as butter though, and I don't have any problems with butter. Let's see. Why Lucy says, why take all these things? We need to get to the root cause and stop doing the thing that got us there into that stage. You're exactly right. You need to look into things before you just start supplementing or taking things, or doing internet protocols. Not that I'm opposed. That internet protocol might be spot on. I just don't know what internet protocol you're using and if you've looked at everything. I mean, I use the internet for a lot of stuff. I think it's very valid. However, we just need to be cautious on what we're being told to do. Okay. Um, Anne says, I'm on 40 milligrams statin and 10 milligrams of basically Zetia. Is it bad to cut them out slowly? And that would be something that you'd want to talk to your doctor about. I can give you a plan of action for talking to your doctor. If you want to schedule a consultation, you can email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. IRONLADYDOC @aol.com. Okay. Murray says, by the way, I did try the mashed sardines cooked in the air fryer at 400 degrees for 11 minutes. Idea from Nisha. Okay. It's great. Eating sardines a few times a week now. Awesome. That's awesome. Good job. So you're getting your omega-3s, you're getting vitamin D, you're getting some calcium. Yeah, you're doing good. Uh, Summer, if we're missing your questions, you can start a super chat, and then we'll for sure get those answered. Um, Mermaster says there is a doctor, clinical psychologist, Stephen S. Salarati? I'm not sure. He advises to consume fish oil tablets for treating depression because it increases omega-3s. Again, I would consume sardines and salmon and grass-fed um, meats, and I would get pasture-raised eggs. I would eat food. I would not take a rancid omega-3. And does the doctor, clinical psychologist, are they happen to be selling their omega-3s? Okay. Okay. Cynthia asked, what is my email again? It is iron, so IRONLADY, lady, DOC at AOL.com. Mermaster says the butter from the supermarket has soy lecithin in it. Does that have negative consequences? Yeah, I would. I mean, butter should, if butter is real, it should not have soy in it. You might be consuming a plant-based butter, which is not really butter, but they call it butter, but it's plant-based, and that is not, that's not real. So I would get butter from a cow, and I would look maybe for or an organic one. But yeah, that should not be in your butter. Thank you, Lucy, for putting that up there. I can actually pin, I think I can pin that comment. I can, I did. Good. Okay. Let's see. Huh. Summer, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Both two people have looked and don't see your questions, so I do apologize if there's any mess up in the system. Thank you, 1910. I appreciate that. I love seeing you too. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, 1910, for confirming that. Let's see. Um, so Mermaster said 80% is churned from milk and 20% from soy. All butters from supermarket are like this. I think you made your own at home. Okay. Yep. Just try to find. Anne says Kerrygold Irish butter would be her choice. So maybe check out Kerrygold Mermaster. Um, Dreezy says someone asked if a calcium heart scan was expensive. They paid 150 out of pocket in Southern California. Yeah, in Iowa, it's right around $100. It's right around $100. So between 100 and 150 is going to be standard for getting a calcium score. And a lot of times you can just call the outpatient, and you can call an outpatient radiology department that are on their own, or maybe even hooked with a hospital, but they're usually not centrally located. They're not in the hospital. They will definitely be more expensive inside the hospital. So look for an outpatient radiology place, and then ask them if you need a script from your physician to get a calcium score. They want the money. They probably will say, no, come on in. We'll give you your score. Yes, Raleigh. I am on YouTube at Iron Lady Doc, at Iron Lady Doc. Sometimes you have to punch in my whole name, Malia Jensen. So until I get more well known on YouTube, they're just, uh, but if I punch in Iron Lady Doc Malia Jensen, I find me right away. Okay. Let's see. I'm also on Threads at Iron Lady Doc, YouTube at Iron Lady Doc, Rumble. What else am I on? LinkedIn. I'm on those platforms as well. Okay. I'm on Facebook as well. That's under Center Stage Primary Care. That's the name of my practice, my physical practice. That's Yeah, I'm not sure, Summer, but if you want your question um, answered or try to answer it, just restate it again. Not a big deal. Okay. So the calcium score of 0. What should you do if it is 0 and you're still freaked out? Okay. I think this. I think that you should look at your other markers. The markers that I would get is a CRP, a high sensitive CRP, HS-CRP. I think you should get an insulin level, a fasting insulin level. You might want to get an ApoB, but there's things that I have against the ApoB that it would just confuse you. Okay. I think it throws off because that is something that the lipid hypothesis pushes. And I was once a big believer in the lipid hypothesis that LDL is the cause of heart attacks. And I'm not convinced anymore that LDL is the cause of heart attacks. I believe that there needs to be an injury to the lining of the artery for anything to occur. You can't get anything through the skin unless you break the skin, okay? I meant that was a bad example. You can put topicals on the skin and it can go right through. Okay, forget that analogy. We're going to talk about the inside lining of the artery. There has to be an injury. An injury can occur by smoking, alcohol, and I'm just naming a few, sugar, insulin, any type of smoke that you breathe in, not just tobacco, but any type of, you could be around fires and that could be cause an injury to your lining of your arteries. Nanoplastics, microplastics, heavy metals. These heavy metals can damage the interior lining of the artery, and that's called that first initial lining is called the glycocalyx. It's a very protective layer, and once we injure it, you have whatever the injury nidus is has full access to the endothelial layer of the artery lining, and that is bad news, you guys. Once that endothelial layer gets compromised, things can go wrong, and the initial band-aid, so to speak, when the body senses that there is an injury to the internal lining of that artery, it will want to build a clot. Just like if you were to cut your skin, you got bumped by a tree or a metal cabinet or whatever it is, you got a cut on your hand. And to heal that, it clots over. You form a scab, and then our body dissolves that scab and dissolves it, heals from the inside out. Okay. Now, if you have an injury to the inner lining of the artery, so let's just say you went out for ice cream and you just had 200 grams of sugar, you're going to cause an injury to the lining of your artery right then and there. But as long as you don't continue eating ice cream nonstop, you're going to have time for your body to heal that injury by putting a little clot band-aid on it. And then we have little enzymes in our body that will break down that clot over time after that injury has healed. That is a normal process of injury and repair. But if we have constant injury going on, constant sugar, constant smoking, constant alcohol, constant nanoplastics, or a combination of all of them, then we develop a chronic injury. And the clotting system and the dissolving system of our body can't keep up. We cannot keep up. If the endothelial cells are damaged, our body should make little baby progenitor cells from the bone marrow that would help replace them. But again, if the injuries are taking place faster than what the body can heal, you're going to be developing an injury, and that clot can over time calcify. That is what we measure on a calcium scoring test, but it does not measure any soft plaque that's going on right now. A soft plaque is very vulnerable, meaning it can break off and cause a problem downstream. That could look like a heart attack, it could look like a stroke, but it's the clot, you guys, that we're worried about, not so much as the calcification. It's the soft plaque. And the biggest culprit, if I could name one, two, three, one of those, it would be sugar, insulin. I mean, smoking's huge, but we always forget, heavy metals. We are taking in a lot of heavy metals, okay? It's in our food. And for one, that is one reason I do not eat plants. The plants grow in the ground. They're soaking up these heavy metals as we speak, and our soil is getting worse and worse as time goes by. So that is one reason I do not consume plants. Now, Raleigh is asking if they live close to the highway, can that be harmful? Absolutely. You're getting diesel fumes and other fumes from gas, and you know, people who live near um, crop fields, they're getting all of the chemicals that are on the crops. If you live in the city, you're getting, you know, lots of diesel fumes, and that causes injury to the lining of our artery. Yeah, Dreezy, it's not my internet, it's Instagram because I am live on YouTube and have not had a problem. Um, you know, Lucy, maybe we just need to pause that for 24 hour, not a complete removal, or maybe just a 2 hour pause. I don't know. I don't want to see you get frustrated. Um, okay. David asked, is Ozempic dangerous for people in their 70s? Um, I mean, I don't know if that 70-year-old person is a healthy 70-year-old or if they're a very fragile 70-year-old. I don't know. What are we using the Ozempic for? Is the Ozempic being used to treat diabetes in a 70-year-old, or are we using Ozempic for obesity? Again, a lot of stuff needs to be monitored. I'm not so sure that let me see. I just got kicked off of Instagram again. So we're for the people who want to restart. Okay. I'm restarting. You guys, I'm restarting Instagram. So I do apologize. I think it would be best if people moved over to YouTube. This has been going on for the past few weeks on Instagram. I have called, I even called T-Mobile and asked them about the internet, and we walked through everything in regards to the setup, and it didn't appear to be a problem. So, hi, Bobby. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. Um, oh, yeah, Lucy, I do have certain words that are in the screened out or blocked words. So if they are using one of those words, it will get kicked back out. So those are for my protection, Lucy, as you know. So I do apologize in advance, but that was a good thought. Okay. Okay. So, a question's coming in about the calcium score again, and this is fine. This is good that we're talking about this. Okay. If you are, if your score is 0, let's just go back to the 0 score. I don't want you to feel like you have a license to do just whatever. With that being said, there's something called the power of 0. It was in the MESA study, okay? The power of 0 says that if you have a score of 0, you don't have diabetes, you're not a smoker, and this is for primary prevention, meaning you have not had an event before, you've never had a heart attack and you've never had a stroke, your chances of having an event, heart attack or stroke, is very low. And the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiologists has suggested that the power of zero would say, hey, I think this person can hold off or withhold taking a statin at the moment. Now, I'm pretty good and pretty on board with that, with one caveat. I'm going to look at your other markers, you guys. I'm going to look at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. I'm going to look at your insulin level. I'm going to look at an A1C. I'm going to look at other things. I'm going to look at a high sensitive CRP. I'm going to look at other things before I just say, hey, we don't need to do anything right now. But other doctors don't look at your calcium score at all. They only look at the calcium score is if it's greater than 0. If it's greater than 0, it proves their point that they want to put you on a statin. If it is 0 and your LDL is high, they still want to put you on a statin. But the Power of Zero study, the MESA study, went up over 190 LDL. Now, if you guys have an LDL of 190, even though your triglyceride to HDL ratio is less than 1, your CRP is less than 1, I'm still going to be extra careful and I'm still going to order advanced lipid testing on you. I have rarely seen, in rare cases, where a person has high LDL, low triglycerides, less than 70, and an HDL above 70, yet have a lot of small, dense LDLs. That person is at risk of a heart attack because of those sticky, small, dense LDLs. So I am very cautious, but I just don't jump to taking a medication. I don't think that's necessary at the moment. Okay. Now, let's say you have a score that's greater than 0. So anything over 0, you have a score, and this is freaking you out. I would do the exact same thing for you guys. I'm going to look at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. Now, hear me on this. If you have any type of calcification that is showing up in the past, that is telling me that your past eating, your diet of eating crapola, which is sugars, processed foods, and seed oils, that's my definition of crapola, you are at very high risk of having had a soft plaque that got stabilized with calcification. And that's what the calcium score is measuring. It does not tell you how clogged up that artery is. You could have a score of 1,000 and you have a wide open artery. The calcium score does not tell you how clogged your arteries are. It's a screening tool to look further. And many physicians will say, I'm going to get an angiogram or a CT angiogram on you anyway. That score basically freaks them out. Okay. And so even if the person was on a statin, they most times, if you got that high of a score, they're going to do a CT angiogram. And if the CT angiogram is in their eyes positive, they might do an angiogram. They might stent you. They might see that there's so much damage on a CT angiogram that they want to bypass you. Okay. There's a lot of, this is individual. It's not something that I could answer with a blanket statement on what I would do. I talk it over with the patient and I go through all of these other markers and then we make a decision together on how to proceed. Okay. And it's not the standard of care where high LDL over 130, here's your statin. That's standard of care, you guys. You think, some of you think that doctors are just doing it because they're getting kickbacks on medications. That is not true at all. Not even close to being true. There's no money being exchanged unless, of course, I work for a pharma company. If I work for Novo and I go lecture for them, they are going to pay me very well to go lecture for a dinner to a bunch of other doctors or nurse practitioners or PAs or nurses, whoever I'm talking to, they will pay me to go speak to them. That is a job. You're being W-9'd or 1099'd or whatever it's called. You don't work for the company, so to speak. You're not a W-2 employee, but you work for them. And that could skew your future prescribing habits. Yes. But there's no exchange of money for a doctor to write a statin. Zero. In fact, statins are generic. There is no exchange of money. But what is occurring is standard of care. Doctors follow standard of care. They do not want to not follow standard of care because it increases their risk of getting sued, malpractice. So a doctor will follow standard of care, and standard of care says if your LDL is over 130, you're on a statin. If you're a diabetic, you're on a statin. Even if you showed them the study of the MESA study with the power of zero, they will not, absolutely not listen to you. They will say that you are non-compliant. They'll mark it in your chart so it protects them from getting malpractice lawsuit against them. That's what they will do. They might stop seeing you altogether. They don't like your attitude. They don't like you stepping on their toes. Apparently, they sit on a throne. Most, not all, because I do not sit on a throne. There's one true king who sits on a throne, and it is not me. So you guys are asking, why wouldn't my doctor say what you're saying? Because they're following standard of care. They're seeing patients and they are being reimbursed by the insurance companies to follow standard of care. The more people that they have on statins to get their LDL less than 130, the more reimbursement they get from the insurance company. Make sense? I guess you could consider that the kickback that you're talking about. Okay. So, in other words, if your score, you guys, was greater than zero, just think about getting a CT angiogram with a clearly. Just think about getting a CT angiogram with a clearly, okay? Also be aware of that you can get a carotid duplex. It's an ultrasound of your carotid arteries. So let me give you an example. There are a lot of my patients who do this on their own. They will do that lifeline screening where they get a carotid duplex, they'll get an aortic duplex, they'll get ankle brachial index. They will get the lifeline screening, and that is awesome. And I don't know the cost, but I think it's less than $200 to get all of that, and that is a really good deal. Okay. Okay. Oh, Lucy, I understand what you're saying. Wondering if certain words are triggering IG to kick you off. I can look into that. I don't know what those words would be. I would have to look them up, and then I would avoid those words. I don't know what words are. Am I using bad words that IG would not like? I don't know. Are we going to talk in code from here on out? I hope not. If you could only keep and take one supplement, which would you choose and why? Well, first of all, I don't take many supplements, if any at all. I will occasionally, during certain times of the year, I will take vitamin D. And so in the wintertime, I would say that that would be the one supplement that I would keep and continue because I am in Iowa. I guess I don't get as much sunlight as I would like. I do get outside. I do try to keep my face uncovered, but again, in Iowa, for me, that is not, I'm risking my skin um, being exposed to the elements here, and I don't want to do that. So, yeah, if in wintertime I take vitamin D, um, a supplement that I take on a regular basis is creatine. I do take that when I remember every morning. And it's not that I don't remember, it's just if I go and brush my teeth before taking my creatine, I'm not going to take my creatine because I'm not going to go back and redo my teeth again. So creatine, why? Creatine is important for our muscles. Creatine is very important for our brain. Now, you would think with as much meat that I consume, I would have enough creatine. And that can be true. I think that it's possible to get 5 grams a day from consuming high amounts of red meat. And then is that enough for brain? I don't think so. I think you would probably need between 10 and 15 grams. And so if the studies are true, which you can look them up on PubMed because I have, between 10 and 15 grams is what is needed for our brain to do its job. And the reason I say this is because all of the environmental exposure, all of our diet, we are decreasing the creatine. So it's like we're needing more and more. Again, there's a doctor, there's a doctor online. I believe it's Dr. Nicola, Nicola. I think that's it. I believe she is in neurology, and she talks a lot about creatine. And she's got a podcast, and she has a lot of people on that talk about the benefits of creatine. Dr. Ben Bickman will talk about, so you could search Dr. Ben Bickman and creatine and get his take on it. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer on that. So, uh, Terrell says they would choose turmeric with ginger and pepperdine. And those root plants would be the last things I would put in my body. Even if they helped my knees, I would never put them in my body because root plants actually grow under the ground and are full of toxins. So I'm glad they're helping with your knees, but you are probably getting a lot of oxidation going on in your body from all of the heavy metals that you're consuming. McGregor, I do not know that person at all. In regards to eating raw meat, I don't know that person. Okay. Um, Galapagos says, I'm 6 foot tall. I was 236, so 6 foot, 236, a little hot. That's a little overweight, isn't it? Now I'm 6 foot and 139. You're 139 pounds and still have 10% body fat? You want to regain 27 pounds of muscle. How do I do so without getting fat? You need to lift weights, but right now at 6 foot and 139, you are likely malnourished, very malnourished. And I don't know if you're male or female, does not say. Yeah, I would increase fat and protein, keep your carbs low if you want to, low or no carbs if you don't want to get fat again. But you need to go into a state of surplus as far as fuel is concerned to include protein and saturated fat from animals. And you definitely need to lift some weights. You cannot just grow muscles sitting on the couch. Lucy asks, what do you think of tretinool? Do you mean tretinoin, or are you talking about a retinaldehyde? Let, okay, let's just briefly break it down. Retinoids, oids appearing like a retinoids, is a retinol which have stages of strength. You can get just a basic retinol. Well, actually, you can get a retinol ester. A retinol ester would probably be the weakest of the retinols. It's called an ester. And then you could get a retinol, meaning a percentage like maybe 0.025 or 0.5 or a 1% retinol. Then you can get a retinaldehyde. And remember, an ester has to convert to a retinol, and a retinol has to convert to a retinaldehyde, and then a retinaldehyde converts to a retinal. So like tretinoin. So tretinoin is like wholly top of the line up here, and it takes no conversions whatsoever. A retinaldehyde is one conversion away from that. And most dermatologists, like online dermatologists, will say that you could probably get enough improvement of your skin with taking a retinaldehyde. If your doctor won't prescribe tretinoin, a retinaldehyde bought over the counter, if it's from a reputable brand, then that would likely, in over a 6-month time, you'll start to see fading of dark spots. Something else that also adds to fading of dark spots would be a type of vitamin C. Vitamin C is very good at decreasing brown spots and evening out your texture on your face. Okay. If I'm guessing you're talking about your face. Yeah, you are talking about your face. So, but the type of vitamin C is going to be crucial. When you buy something like I believe it's the Ordinary, it comes in a dropper bottle, and it's the brown, the bottle is brown, but the minute you take the dropper bottle out, it exposes it to air, and you expose the actual bottle of vitamin C to air. Over time, that oxidizes very, very rapidly. It basically breaks down. It's not good. So picking a particular vitamin C is important. You might want to get a vitamin C that's in a pump bottle, so it's enclosed. You can't get in, the air can't get to it. Um, the light can't get to it. And something like, I believe the brand is called Timeless. Timeless makes a vitamin C. But here's another crucial part is a lot of people cannot tolerate vitamin C. It'll spike inflammation or maybe redness or kind of a burning sensation, depending on the strength of the vitamin C. Like, is it 5%, 10%, 20%? Vitamin C. There is a type of vitamin C that's actually probably holy grail type vitamin C, and it's called tetrahexadecyl vitamin C. THD, tetrahexadecyl, tetrahexadecyl vitamin C, THD. There's been a lot of studies on that particular type of vitamin C. It is much, much more stable. And as far as studies have shown, it's as good, if not better, than a ascorbic acid, the vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Okay. A reputable, a reputable brand of the THD in a good face cream that you could apply 2 times a day, and you can go out in the sun, you can do these things. It would be something called by a physician. Her name is Dr. Idris, Idriss, and she makes a line called Major Fade. And Major Fade has something called Active Seal, and it comes in a lavender, much larger than this, but it looks like this kind of a shape, but it's just much larger. Okay. And it's a pump. So she's done uh she's done her research. You just push down on the pumper and out comes a little bit of the cream. It's very delicate, soft, and now actually she added glutathione. So if you're interested, and she does not pay me, she doesn't even know who I am. This doctor is out of New York. She actually sells her products at Sephora. Are they on Amazon? I think they are, but they're extremely, like almost double or triple the price of. So a little container of that, gosh, I don't know how big it is. It's probably 3 times bigger than this. Okay, so it's probably 3 of these, and it goes for about $58. And right now, I think on Sephora, maybe not right now, but in the next week or so on Sephora, there's maybe a 10% discount that you can take it. And it doesn't take very much of this particular cream that goes all over your face. I mean, it just maybe the size of my ring finger fingernail. That's it. That all and that'll go over your all of your face. Okay. So it goes a long way for the $58. I know that's kind of pricey, but and it has the THD in it, tetrahexadecyl vitamin C, which is maybe the vitamin C that you would want to use. But it takes consistency and everyday use of doing that. And then you'll see fading over 6 months to a year to 2 years. I believe that those brown spots are from glycation and it mixes with the sun. And I also believe that we have a lot of iron that's in those brown spots as well. So heavy metals can get trapped in our skin and that comes out to the surface. So Dr. Idris, Idriss. Yeah, you can tell her I sent you. She's going to go, who's that from Iowa? Yeah, don't know her. Never heard of her. But yeah, thank you. She's getting me business. Um, Another person to follow if you're into the skin would be the budget dermatologist, Dr. Marin Locke, Locke, the budget dermatologist. She's she explains things along the same lines of how I explain. She breaks it down. She's so simplistic. She just she just breaks it down to say like a third grader could understand what she's saying. And she's fun to watch because she actually does all of her treatments and shows you everything from her bathroom. It's cute. So she's got her hair up in a towel and yeah, she's good. She's a very good educator and she doesn't sell you all these things where she's trying to make a whole bunch of money. In fact, she's basically what is it called when you're not a well, not she's a creator, yes, but when you have coupon codes for all these other sites, she gets a kickback, probably I don't know 4 or 5% on everything that she recommends and sells. So if she sells some CeraVe, if she recommends CeraVe for your lips and your hands or whatever, she's going and you go buy it off of her link, then she's going to get paid a small portion, a couple dollars for that. I can't, it's a associate fee or something like that that she'll get. All right. So those are good questions. So Dr. Marin Locke, so the budget dermatologist, she's on YouTube. I think she's on Instagram. I don't know. I watch her. I have watched her on YouTube before. I really enjoy her stuff and her suggestions. Okay. And then Dr. Idris, Idriss, she's also on YouTube, does Saturdays. I think she does Saturdays every Saturday where she'll talk about something. She's getting very famous. She was actually on the Mel Robbins show not too long ago. I don't know if any of you listening right now have seen her be interviewed on the Mel Robbins show. That was pretty interesting. I think Dr. Idris does just fine on her own and doesn't need the help of a podcaster, but it was good either way. So Dr. Idris, Idriss, she's also very good with her education. She breaks things down, but she talks very, very fast, very fast. And so, I mean, I'm so used to hearing her little tiny bit of a dialect. I'm so used to hearing her that I can listen to her on a speed of 1.0 or 1.25 and be just fine. Some people have to really slow her down. Um, EMS. Okay, Lionheart says life extension has the best creatine. I went from being unable to turn the doorknob to being able to garden again. 4 pills a day. 4 pills a day of creatine. Good. Lucy, I hope I answered your question as far as the dark spots. I think it's a combination of using a retinol. I think everybody should probably use a retinol. It's in my eyes. It's not backed by any study. Vitamin C as an antioxidant and as a builder of collagen and elastin, I think is important. Now, it's important to me. How about that? It's important to me that I would use a good vitamin C and use a good retinoid. In this case, either a retinaldehyde or a tretinoin. Okay. Lionheart also takes neuromagnesium from Life Extension. Good. Do you consider creatine supplements safe when taking blood pressure and Lasix meds? I don't see why not. I don't know why taking creatine would be a problem if you have high blood pressure. You have high blood pressure likely because you have high insulin, and you have high insulin because you eat too many carbohydrates that raise insulin. Uh, Galapagos says, thank you. You're very welcome. Yeah, tretinoin, Lucy. I think I knew what you meant, so thank you. Heidi says, did you mean Edith Eggers? I don't know who Edith Eggers is. I'm sorry. Eggers, Edith Eggers. I don't know who that is. Sorry, Heidi. Um, okay. All right. Thank you, Lionheart. You guys, you and Galapagos can chat back and forth. Lucy says, am I taking topical vitamin? Are you talking about topical or oral? Topical. Lucy, I'm talking about topical. It is in the the it's a topical. Timeless makes a brand. It comes in a pump. I would say if you're going to go with an ascorbic acid, I would use that brand by Timeless. I think it comes in an orange bottle or an orange pump or a yellow pump. I think the yellow is more percentage. It's stronger concentration versus the orange one, which is a lesser concentration. They might even have 3 concentrations. I'm not sure. But if you're looking for an all-in-one that will have some ceramides, that will have glutathione, that will have the THD, tetrahexadecyl, vitamin C, and a bunch of other peptides for your face, maybe you go with the all-in-one from Dr. Idris, Idriss. It's the active seal. It might be, and this is for men and women. There's you know, I I don't discriminate. I think men should be taking care of their skin as well. Okay. We're gonna bypass all of Lionheart's stuff here. If he or she want to help out Galapagos, they could maybe get together after this and talk about that. Affiliate, yes. Thank you, Lucy. That is the word for it. Affiliate. She is an affiliate. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Yes. As far as the retinols, if you have sensitive skin, you might want to start with a retinol ester, which is the least concentrated. Is starting with a retinol ester because it's really about consistency when you're applying topicals. And if you cannot tolerate tretinoin, that is great. Don't do it. If you get any type of redness or peeling and all of that, you're not going to be consistent with using it. Will it go away if you consistently used it? Absolutely, it'll go away. However, if you start low and go slow in the dose, you're going to it's building up over time. Consistency is the most important thing when using a retinol or retinoid, I should say. Let's just talk a retinoid. So if you think that you have sensitive skin, start with an ester, a retinol ester. Then you could maybe bump up to a retinol. And then maybe you could bump up to a retinaldehyde if you think you need it, but you're likely getting, pretty good results from just a retinol at whatever strength that you're using. But if you just want to bump it up a little bit, you can do a retinaldehyde. You don't necessarily need to take um, a tretinoin, a prescription strength. Okay. 1910 says, I'm looking into improving lymph flow. Any experience? No, I don't. Exercise is the only experience I have with increasing lymph flow. Okay. I'm starting the opening exercise and walking more, thinking about a rebounder. Yep, a rebounder would be good. Any type of pumping exercises that you do, lifting weights is going to be important for lymphatic flow. Yep, baby trampoline, all of those are good things. I think those are good things. Okay. Um, Oh, that's a good idea. Just Lucy just says simply jumping rope. I think you could just jump in place if you can't get the rope to go underneath your feet and get tripped up by the rope, depending on how good you are. But yeah, jumping rope, bouncing in place, those are all good things if you don't want to spend $800 on a trampoline. Um, is there a way to slow motility in the digestive tract? Our body naturally has GLP in the gut. There's some GLP receptors, I believe, in the muscle and maybe even in the brain. But GLP is that secret component that does slow down motility. I don't think you want to slow it down too much. Why are you asking, Church? I'm curious as to why you would want to slow down the motility. Why not just is it because that you have diarrhea or some sort of irritable bowel? Instead of slowing down, why don't you figure out what is increasing the transit time? What are you doing that's actually causing an increase in transit time that you want to take something else to slow it down? So, church, I'm guessing that your chronic watery stool is from something that you're consuming. And I think the most common thing would be some sort of a plant. It's causing gap junctions. I'm guessing that your zonulin level will be very high, very inflammatory, gut, and you're getting um, a lot of leaky gut problems. You could also have a lot of stuck poop in your colon, and the loose stuff will slip around it. Okay. Can I add sardines to my diet if I'm fighting gout? Well, you can add sardines to your diet, and that would be a wonderful thing. Whether or not it fights gout, I'm not sure. But what caused your gout? So gout is caused by making too much uric acid or not getting rid of enough uric acid. Uric acid is very, very hard on the heart. High uric acid levels are associated with coronary artery disease, heart failure, AFib. So chronically high elevations of uric acid. I would ask, how much fruit are you consuming? People who eat fruit, fructose, will raise uric acid levels. You can measure if I ask people how much fruit are you eating? Oh, no, not much. I'll get a uric acid level on them. And if their uric acid level is elevated, I say, so how much fruit are you consuming? Oh, Dr. Jensen, I guess I have 3 pieces of fruit every single day. And well, I can tell. Well, how can you tell? Well, your uric acid level is elevated. One molecule of fructose is equal to one molecule of uric acid. And who was the doctor that studies? Ah, there is a doctor on YouTube who all he does is study fructose and uric acid. He's a mastermind. Listening to him, oh boy, it'll come to me. I can't think of it right now, but it will come to me. Also, fructose increases our risk of fatty liver disease. So, I don't know why you have gout, but it needs to be looked into. So I would talk to your doctor. Um, Mikey says sometimes I got to take gut motility because bowels are extremely slow and it would take a day or two to do, and I eat healthy. You guys, from here on out, when you say I eat healthy, why don't we define that? Why don't we define what you, Mikey, consider healthy? Because what you, Mikey, consider healthy, I do not consider healthy. Okay. And, you know, the only reason, okay, you eat a lot of fiber, okay. And what's your opinion on fish oil on the brain? Well, we need fish oil, we need omega 3s for our brain in order for it to function at its ultimate. But taking fish oil in a capsule is not what I would recommend. Brad, sugar raises uric acid levels? It does, but fructose especially raises uric acid. Fructose, that particular sugar, fructose, it's in a 1-to-1 ratio. Richard Johnson, you got it, Lucy. I think Lucy just reads my mind on everything. Yes, Richard Johnson does a lot of studies on uric acid and fructose. That's him, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Richard Johnson. Yes, thank you, Lucy. Lucy is definitely earning her pay today. Um, let's see. Sometimes I gotta take gut multi. Yeah, Mikey, I don't know what you're eating that's causing that would be considered constipation if you're having symptoms of irritability, of cramping, gas, bloating, that sort of thing. In fact, your fiber might be causing it. Who knows? Fiber is a waste product. Fiber feeds fiber. You know what? If you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you should be eating a lot of fiber. How about that? You need to get that waste and that crap out of there. Okay? That's what I think about that. Let's see. Did I miss anything over on Instagram? Um, Heidi says, sorry, what doc were you talking about? I'm not sure. I've mentioned a lot of doctors today, I think. So it depends. What was the subject that you're referring to? Because we've mentioned quite a few doctors here today online and talking about what they are specializing in or what they love to talk about. You guys sound very well read, very well listened. Listening to podcasts, I think that's important. I'm so glad that you guys join me on the weekends because it tells me that you want to take care of yourself and you're not just relying on a once or twice a year going to the doctor for a wellness exam and expecting in a 15-minute appointment that you're going to get all of your questions answered. So I would pat yourself on the back and congratulate yourself for going the extra mile and increasing your knowledge, because the more knowledge you have, the more ability the more ability for informed consent. So when a question does present to you and you don't know what, or a person who is not well informed doesn't know how to answer. A person who is well informed will have more information to be able to answer that question to the best of their abilities. Okay. So, a person who, let me give you an example, a person that is well informed, if being presented by, I think you should take a statin, you'll know what questions to ask. You'll know why you should take a statin because it's an anti-inflammatory and antithrombotic. Why you should not take a statin because it blocks the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, which blocks the whole mevalonic pathway, which would prevent you from making your own vitamin D, your own vitamin K2, your own CoQ10, your own isoprenoids, your own cholesterol, and on down the line. So you would be informed and be able to, ask questions back. And then you'll be informed about the power of zero on a calcium score. And you'll be informed about particle size and what pattern of particle size you have. Is it a pattern A or a pattern B? You'll be well informed. And you get informed by going the extra mile, by reading and by listening to other providers online and getting educated. Now, if you just stick with the people who align with what you want to hear them say, then that's not really doing you much good. Okay. Even me, I try not to vomit. I try to put something over my mouth so I don't vomit when I hear some people talk. I do not comment. I don't think that's appropriate for me to comment publicly and disparage them, to knock them down, to ad hominem attack them or bully them. I don't think that's respectful at all. But it gives me a reason to go look things up. If I hear something, even from a person that I enjoy listening to, they might say something. I go, whoa, 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 whoa. That does not sound right. I'll go look it up. I will just go look it up. And then I'll look it up in various platforms and I'll say, okay, this does not sound right. Why? And then I keep asking questions and going deeper and going deeper and going deeper just to figure out, what is it that they're trying to tell us. Okay. And sometimes when we are talking as a provider, we get very superficial. And many of you guys know a little deeper layer and you'll start questioning and say, whoa, what up with this? And I was good. That's really good that you're bringing that up. However, not everybody's at that level. And sometimes we have to stay surface level a little bit. And then each time as we build them up along our journey, because we're all learning together, some of you have read and heard things that I have no idea about. We're all on a journey and we're all trying to help each other. And so I don't want to get you where you are so one-sided that I'm your tribe and Dr. Barry's your tribe and Dr. Chafee's your tribe and Dr. Bickman's your tribe. Yes, it's great that you're in a tribe, okay? However, we get into a tunnel vision, and that is not always good. It's good to hear a little bit of the other side, so so you can question the whys and the hows, and you can go look things up, okay? But if you're, only aligning with your tribe, you're only going to hear things that tickle your ear, okay? And so just keep learning, you guys. We're all on this journey together. We're all helping each other, okay? Okay. Okay. I'm trying to pick out your questions. Margie says, everything has sugar, so how do you go on a no sugar diet? Um, everything, d- no, not everything has sugar. Fat does not have sugar. So fat does not have sugar. When I say, I don't think I said no sugar diet. And when I say that, I think what I mean is added sugar, which honestly, if I tell you to avoid processed foods, seed oils, and sugar, if I were to tell you that, my secret code is there's nothing else you can eat except for animals. If you avoid processed foods, seed oils, and sugar, there's really only animal products that you can eat because all plants are seed oils. They're omega-6, um, linoleic acid. There are some omega-3s, but you have to convert them because it's an ALA. So you would have to convert the ALA into the usable form. So if I tell you to avoid processed foods, seed oils, and sugar, and you actually did it, you would likely just be eating animals. Now, is there sugar in milk of the animal? Yes. In cheese of the animal? Probably. But for the most part, a no carb diet, a no sugar diet would be an animal-based diet. Okay. Church, I'm glad you found this place too. I appreciate you being here. Share it with your friends and family. If you hear something that you like, I'm here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central. I love doing this. I love talking to you guys. I really look forward to it every weekend. I mean, there are some that you guys that get under my skin, and I try not to let that bother me. But for the most part, you guys are so respectful and you truly want to learn, and that makes my heart happy. And it shows me that you want to take and invest your time and your money in your health and not just simply rely on a doctor. And I am a doctor, you guys. It's almost like I'm trying to put myself out of business. And I once said that. I said, if everybody were to get healthy, they wouldn't need a doctor and I would put myself out of business. And that's really the truth. Um, if we should really just need a doctor for emergencies. But these chronic wellness things or these chronic disease things, honestly, going to your doctor is not going to help you. They're going to help you by keeping you in that chronic illness and giving you a medication, which raises your hopes that you could cure it or manage it for the next 50 years. But my thing is, why not just get rid of whatever you need to go to the doctor for? Just get rid of it. Because for the most part, I think you know what caused it. And for the most part, it's going to be the environment. What are you doing? What diet? What exercise? What sleep? What getting out in nature? You know, what clothes you're wearing? Yeah, it gets down to that. If you're wearing polyester and a whole bunch of fancy clothes that are full of chemicals like bromide, then you're actually inviting disease into your life. What is the best? Cotton. What about the light bulbs? What kind of light bulbs are you using? If you're going to use blue light LED lights, then you're causing problems with your health. If you're going to listen to toxic music, you're going to cause toxic brain stuff going on, toxic thoughts. If you're going to eat fake food that's processed and full of seed oils that are very inflammatory in nature, they're omega-6s, they insert themselves into the cell membrane and they cause oxidation. You don't want areas on your cells where they're getting oxidized, because when they're getting oxidized, they're getting destroyed, damaged. You would rather have saturated fat in your cell membranes, stabilizing the cell membrane, protecting it, coating it like a little warm blanket. You don't want to have partially open doors on your cells from polyunsaturated fatty acids. We do need, hear me say this. We need omega 6s. Okay? We do not need as many as we are getting. There is enough omega 6 in meat. Well, I think most people think there is only saturated fat in animals. There is not. There's saturated fat, there's polyunsaturated fat, and there's monounsaturated fat, all in animals. It isn't one or the other. Yeah, but all the saturated fat causes coronary artery disease. If that were the case, why are doctors saying consume coconut oil? Use coconut oil to cook in. It's healthier. Well, how can it be? It's actually 60% saturated fat. And that was the fat you told us not to eat. I mean, there's just so many things that they say and they go, come on. My little BS meter just went off and it's going like, and it goes all the way over to the side. It's like a red flag and saying, do you even know what you're saying? They don't, because they've been indoctrinated into the lipid hypothesis from way back in the 1950s when so and so came to the market and told us with all of his studies, the 7 country studies, and said all these things and gave us the lipid hypothesis. And then it's on and on and on with the government and the politics and pretty much so eventually you got people and lawmakers making your what you're going to eat on your plate. If that's the way. Penny says, aren't LED bulbs used in red light masks? They are. They are. So if you use your red light mask every day, 9 minutes a day, you're getting LED light bulbs. But I would venture to guess that if you work in a building, you got LED bulbs. And for me, I changed the light bulbs out and not have LED. But the EMF, something like, how about your outside lights? It might not be exposed inside your house, but you have LED lights on outside your house. Well, that is like a big giant orbit of LED EMF that's going on around you. I mean, there's a lot. Why did why did we ever switch? I mean, the amount of money that you save per year on an LED light bulb versus a halogen or an incandescent light bulb, I mean, it's got to be what, $200? I mean, you guys spend more at a coffee shop per year than you do on a light bulb. So I don't know where this energy conservation is almost like this little incentive. Get everybody to be on LED light bulbs, get everybody to buy an Apple Watch or an Apple whatever. I don't get it. There's just something, it just gives me it it gives me a gut feeling that I don't like, okay? Lucy says, eat meat, nose to tail. I agree. Yeah, Deborah. Exactly what Lucy said. Eat meat, nose to tail. And are you really anemic? Did you get an iron level, a ferritin level, a transferrin level, a TIBC? Did you get a GGT? Did you check your liver function, AST, ALT? Did you get a CBC? There's a lot going on, and the definition of anemia is very skewed. Most people think about anemia as being low in iron, and that may not be the case, okay? That may not be the case. You need to have somebody who is knowledgeable at looking at your labs to determine whether or not you are truly anemic, okay? Mikey says, I have so many questions. Well, I'm here. I'm not going away every Saturday and Sunday, Saturday at 9 a.m. Central and Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. If you want, you can sign up for a consultation by emailing me at ironladydoc@aol.com. And you'll have, you know, 100% my access for an hour or however long that you want to schedule that for. Um, Yeah, just give it a try, Mikey. If you think caffeine is part of the culprit, then do an elimination of coffee or caffeine and see how you do. That's the best thing. Cytomegalovirus says, "Good morning. Here for much needed pep talk. What do you need to be pep talked about?" Cytomegalovirus. That's a cute handle. I wonder how you got that one, but I don't mean to give you, well, I guess a pep talk is a good thing, right? It's pumping you up. That's what a pep talk is. What is the best fiber? Well, one, you know, I guess I can't tell you. I wouldn't have a best fiber because we don't use fiber. We don't break it down. Our body cannot use fiber. It goes out as waste. Fiber is a plant. Fiber is either soluble or insoluble. And by definition, if it's insoluble, it's going out the other end. Goes in one end and out the other end. If I had to choose, if I was going to do a fiber and I had to choose, I suppose I would choose inulin. Inulin, inulin, inulin. That would probably be my fiber of choice, but you know, we don't break it down and I tend not to need it for anything. I don't think anybody needs fiber. Oh, yes, I do. If you're eating a standard American diet, you should consume fiber as much as you can. Polish S, is fish oil really good for us over 70 years old? Absolutely. You need to eat some sardines, Polish princess. Eat some sardines or some salmon, get some grass-fed beef, get some pasture-raised eggs, and yeah, have at it. You definitely need omega-3s for your brain. You need fat and cholesterol. You need to keep up that myelin sheath that's wrapped around all of your nerves. The myelin sheath is made up of fat, and you need it in order for your nerve conduction um, to to work. You need a happy brain. My married initials are CMV. Worked in a lab when engaged. We laugh so hard. It's always available for a username. I imagine it is. That's cute. That's a good one. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That's perfect. Okay. Brad says, I take allopurinol for gout. Why do you have gout though? Do you have a problem making uric acid, or do you have a problem getting rid of uric acid? Which is your problem? Okay. Remember that anytime we take a medication, it is blocking a normal biologic process that's going on in our body. So is that the best thing for you? I'm not sure, Brad. That doesn't sound. I think I would want to figure out why my uric acid is needing me to take allopurinol, because my body should not have a deficiency of allopurinol. Why do you have high uric acid? Oh, you're very welcome, Diana. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you too. Mm, Okay. Trying to scan through these. Really, Lucy? Lucy says that incandescent bulbs are banned in California. Oh my gosh. I I wonder why. Are they afraid of fires maybe? Is that what it is? Or was there some other underhanded agenda? Uh, Okay, Deborah, I understand that your doctor did a blood test to confirm your anemia. What is the definition of your anemia? What is the definition? And what do you see where I'm very skeptical of what your doctor ordered? They might have just gotten a hemoglobin on you, and it was 11.5. And they said, oh, Deborah, you have anemia. Take your iron. Okay. What lab test did they do? Okay. Do you believe everything your doctor says? If the doctor told you that it is healthy for you to jump off cliffs, would you do that? Again, just to clarify, I am a doctor. I'm a family practice doctor, board certified for 27 years. I don't want anybody believing every single word that comes out of my mouth without looking it up themselves. Doctor, what tests? Tell me exactly, write down every single test you did to confirm my diagnosis of anemia. Then, doctor, tell me the definition of anemia so we are clear on what the definition of anemia is. I want you to look it up. The definition of anemia. Does it say low hemoglobin? Does it say low iron? Does it say iron dysregulation? Because really, that is what anemia is. It's iron dysregulation. Your body is not regulating iron for some reason. It's not always, I'm going to take more synthetic iron to bump up my iron levels. You're actually making a problem worse. Okay. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, they want us sick. That's for sure, Lucy. That is for sure. They're actually keeping doctors in business. The doctors probably work for them. Who knows? Hi, Watch Lady. Thank you for joining. We are about ready to call it quits for today. It is 11 o'clock. We've been talking for a little over 2 hours. And I'll be back tomorrow on Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. Catch some of my reels. Please, right now, when you guys hang up the line here, please hit the like and the subscribe buttons. If you're not already subscribed, just check, make sure. Also, there's a new thing on YouTube. It's called Hype, Hype, Hype. If you're watching something later, like one of my videos, like this video you watch Monday, you want to catch something at the 1 hour mark. When you go back to my video, there will be a little symbol, a little emoji that says, do you want to hype this video? Hype it means give it points. The more a creator gets hyped, the more YouTube on the algorithm will bump up that person. So I'm asking, would each of you YouTubers, whoever's on YouTube, go to some of my previous videos? You can hype, I think, 2 or 3 things in a week, and it would help me tremendously get my YouTube more, get it up there, upward, where Instagram is. Okay. I think I would like to reach more people and help more people, and I can do that with your help. So help me help, the algorithm, I suppose. So hyping, and you can do that to other videos, as well, to other people, but it's a new thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just some points that you're being donated or given, and then you go and you hype up your favorite videos. It's just kind of like a like, but it's hyping them. That's what it is. Okay. So I would appreciate that. Okay. Lisa, I do not have a opinion on that, but we can talk about it more tomorrow. Okay. So you guys, I really appreciate you guys being here. Have a very blessed Saturday. Do the clickety clack, the like and the subscribe and the hearts and the hypes and all this stuff. Okay. And you guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. See ya.